I'm Jeremy Hickerson, and this is All of Life. What is our spiritual purpose? I think that's an intriguing question, and it's sort of at odds with what I talked about yesterday when I mentioned that I had kind of lost my purpose due to some tragedy that occurred around me with several people I knew dying. And I kind of wondered if any of the goals I'd had in my life even mattered anymore. They were too mundane. And these were things like, in my case, wanting to be a writer, wanting to get published, wanting to write something meaningful that will affect people the same way that Karl Ove Knausgaard's writings affected me, for instance. And that is not exactly mundane, but when you compare that to, say, something like someone's eternal soul, or what happens to them after they die, those things just don't seem to mean anything. And I know, just as an example, there was a TV show a few years back. I won't tell you what it was because I don't want to give this away as a spoiler if you ever end up watching it. But it involves somebody essentially traveling in time so that they could see the next 2,000 years in increments 20 years apart. And I was just so intrigued by that idea because the trade-off was, in order to do this, they left behind everybody they knew. And yet they could see the future unfolding for hundreds and hundreds of years. And that was just so interesting to me. I wouldn't say it was worth it, but it was tempting. And yet this earthly life is so meaningless compared to any kind of spiritual measure at all. As a Christian, you know this isn't everything. Now, as a Christian, I have to say I struggle with the idea of the afterlife. I hope it's true. I believe Christ raised from the dead. And in logic, if there is a soul, if there is a God, and I believe both, then the soul would not be destroyed. But I have to say I fear there is no afterlife. I fear it just shuts off like a switch and that's it. And we had our time and that was it. And that is a terrible fear for me. And, of course, there's no way to know. You could say, well, if you're a Christian, you believe the Bible, you know what it says about those kind of things. And yes, I believe the Bible. There's a human aspect to the Bible. There's no denying that. How much, I don't exactly know. I take a high level of the Bible and what it says, but I also think the humans can say things too. Anyway, but again, as I said, my whole argument in my mind that I have with myself is there's no doubt in my mind that God exists, and there's no doubt in my mind that God is eternal. And it does not seem right that we are nothing more than some sort of real sophisticated robot that is just a physical amalgam of parts, and that once those parts stop functioning, we're gone. That doesn't really seem to make any kind of sense to me. It seems like we're more than our parts, that there is a spirit. And so if there is a spirit, then what we do here in this life matters, and yet what matters most is our spirit. And so, I've thought, well, it's too bad so-and-so died. They didn't get to see that this happened this year. The Cubs won the pennant or the championship finally, or something like that, or even something bad. I won't give an example of politics because I know that people may watch this on various sides of issues, but there's just certain astounding things that have happened, that certain people died right before they happened. And I always thought, well, dang, it's too bad they didn't get to see that, or if only they had seen that. And yet I'm thinking now, where they're at, this doesn't even matter. These are very petty things around us right here. And so, in spite of what I said, that it's important what I do with my time, that if I have some sort of purpose, in my case, maybe writing, that I want to use that time. I want to fulfill that purpose. I want to create something meaningful. And yet that is truly mundane. And the more important thing is what happens to me spiritually during this time. And yet somehow both are important. I don't think it's wrong to want to do something meaningful with your life, whatever that may be in creativity or whatever. But really, the spiritual realm is eternal, and that's got to be the most important. Thanks for watching. If you like this, click subscribe, click like, and I'll see you next time.